Urgent, Celtics drop a bomb. Trade talks underway and a surprise name. Watch. Celtics family for everything. Information has now come out that could change the course of the season, and it involves an ongoing trade with a surprise name. I know what it's like. You open your cell phone and get butterflies in your stomach. Are they going to change the cast again? Is someone we love going to leave? This is the fans' pain. We just want to see the team strong, but every rumor becomes a blow to the heart. So stay with me for the next few seconds because I'm going to show you what is fact, what is speculation, who might be involved, and most importantly, what this means in practice for the Celtics. So you can leave this video understanding the real scenario and what to expect from now on. Before I tell you who the surprise name is and what's going on behind this negotiation, let's do the following quickly. Subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss any urgent updates from the Celtics because it changes every minute. And leave a like because it shows me that you want this type of content and makes the video reach more fans. Activate the bell too so you can be one of the first to receive it when the next bomb drops. And comment below, are you a change team or a team keeps the cast? I will read and respond. Now stay with me because in a little while I will show you what is fact, what is rumor, and why this negotiation could be much bigger than it seems. Let's go. What really is the price of greatness? I'm not just talking about money, the luxury tax, or a draft pick that goes away. I'm talking about the emotional toll of a season in which the team is competitive, the East is strong, and any decision could bring the Celtics closer to the banner, or leave that uncomfortable feeling that exactly one detail was missing. If you follow the Celtics talk show, you know that I like to look at the team the way a championship franchise needs to look at it, with respect for what already exists, but with the courage to face what is not yet ready. And today I want to talk to you about a rumor that grew behind the scenes and in media analysis. The possibility of a trade that would put Daniel Gafford in Boston within a multiple-team scenario with important pieces circulating. It's not confirmation, it's not something fixed, but it's the kind of discussion that's worth it because it touches on a sensitive point in this season. The general feeling is that the Celtics are in a good place. The team has identity, it has defensive discipline, it has intensity and a maturity that appears even when the attack is not at its best. When we look at the position in the East, the performance against strong opponents, and the way the squad finds different ways to win, there is a real basis for belief. But then comes that uncomfortable but inevitable question. Is being good enough when the goal is to be a champion? And that's exactly where this conversation starts to make sense. You saw what I saw. Neemias Queta has been one of the most interesting stories in the cast. He brought energy, physical presence, rim protection, and a composure few expected. In many games, he was what a competitive team needs in the position. Someone who doesn't require volume of plays to make an impact. He does the work that sometimes doesn't show up in the box score, but appears in the result, contesting, closing space, fighting for rebounds, protecting the basket, and giving consistency to the quintet. But when you take Queta out of the picture, the team enters a zone that changes from game to game. On some nights, Boston resolves with smaller formations, accelerates, changes marking, thrives on speed and decision-making. In others, the lack of a reliable pivot in the second unit appears clearly. Rebounds escaping, second chances for the opponent, infiltrations turning into layups, fouls to hold back the game, and above all, an accumulated wear and tear that the regular season even allows. But the playoffs almost always demand. I know you've thought this at some point, maybe even without saying it out loud. When the game gets tight, when the rotation shortens, and when the opponent has size and strength near the rim, do we have margin? This is the pain of the fan who wants to be champion. It's not pessimism. It's the recent memory of the NBA reminding you that playoffs are about adjustment, about repetition, about exploiting weaknesses. It's a team with several games to find out where it hurts and press there until you respond. Within this context, a trade construction began to circulate which, according to analyses and discussions that gained strength, would involve a large movement with more than one team to try to take Daniel Gafford to Boston. And why does this name appear so strongly? Due to the profile, the function, and the fit. Gafford is a center who, in the right environment, delivers exactly what the Celtics usually ask for from the position. Rim protection, vertical presence, aerial finishing, energy on rebounds, and impact without needing to do so. B. the star of the attack. He is not the player who will stop the rhythm by asking for the ball at the post. He is the high-value functional piece. He blocks, he rolls to the basket, he finishes quickly, he covers the rim, and he does it with consistency. Furthermore, there is that classic trade deadline fuel, the market. When names that follow behind the scenes indicate that certain players can be played close to the deadline, this becomes a warning for several franchises. Not because it's a guarantee, but because the market works like that. If there is a possibility, the teams monitor it, and the fans, of course, start to imagine the scenarios. The proposal out there is complex, as almost any exchange of multiple teams tends to be. It tries to balance different interests, different assets, and different moments of different franchises. In this structure, Boston would appear as a team that seeks to reinforce two specific things: a pivot with starter characteristics and a winger with the ability to defend and adapt to different matchups, someone who can help maintain the team's defensive level without demanding offensive protagonism. And it's important to say, I'm not stuck here with the exact mathematics of who goes and who comes. The math can change completely. What matters for our conversation is the concept behind the idea. The concept is straightforward: transform an asset that may lose value over time into pieces that solve objective needs now. It's a movement with the feel of, we believe this is the moment. And when I say this, I don't say it to excite for the sake of excitement. I say it because there is a very real emotional part to this for those who support it. The feeling that the team is close, the feeling that the window exists, and the question of what the board is willing to do to push the door and get in. Let's imagine for a few minutes that Gafford actually wore green. What would be the immediate gain? The first is the simplest. You reduce the risk when Keita is not on the court, and that, in playoffs, is worth gold. It's not distrust in Keita. It's understanding that a strong opponent will try to choose where to attack you. And when you have two reliable pivots to share the work, you don't have to hope for it to work out. You have the structure to sustain important minutes. The second benefit is that you create two different ways of playing the bottle without losing identity. In a series, this changes everything. You can adjust without reinventing yourself. You can respond to a big opponent with rim presence, and you can also face a faster team without being stuck with a player who can't switch on the perimeter. And this balance is exactly the kind of thing that separates a very good team from a team that really has a path to becoming champions. The third point for me is fitting in with the stars. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown benefit greatly when the pivot does the basics with excellence. Firm screen, decisive roll, quick finishing, simple reading, correct occupation of spaces. This opens the way, takes pressure off, and makes the attack cleaner. Sometimes the difference between a locked possession and an efficient possession is just having the right player in the right place. And pivot is a lot like that. But as always, the conversation comes up about the price. And it's not just about who leaves. The key is flexibility. The NBA is increasingly tough on teams that go beyond certain limits. You're not just deciding the cast. You are deciding on the ability to adjust in the future, the ability to react to unforeseen events, and the ability to keep the core protected by complementary parts. So the board needs to answer an uncomfortable but inevitable question. Is it worth putting money and long-term structure into the pivot position? If you believe that the team is one piece away from becoming champions, the answer tends to be yes, as long as the price doesn't destroy the base. If you believe that internal growth and coach adjustments can solve the problem, the answer tends to be no, because you preserve resources and don't mess with chemistry. And I understand both sides. Those who advocate taking action now look at the playoff scenario and see risk. He sees series against a big team. He sees rebounds as a factor. He sees second chances. He sees rim protection as something that decides games. Those who advocate caution look at what Boston has already managed to do with alternatives, see the value of small ball in certain matchups, see Keita's evolution, and see the squad's ability to adapt throughout a series. And when the discussion is honest, both sides have strong arguments. But there is one variable that always messes up any negotiation: the context of the team on the other side. Injury changes everything. Losing streak changes everything. Short-term goal changes everything. If a team is forced to protect depth in the paint, it can block any idea of exchange. If a team decides they are going to fight now, they ask for more. If it decides that it will reorganize for the future, it changes the type of assets it accepts. Therefore, rumors cannot become certainty in our head. What it can become is a lens for us to understand what the team needs. And then I want to ask you a simple question, the way I would if we were talking without rushing. Would you prefer a Celtics that reaches the playoffs trusting in what they built internally, or a Celtics that decides to reinforce the most vulnerable point before it becomes a problem? There is no perfect answer. There is what you believe a champion needs to do, because champions are often built like this. Stars that support, a system that organizes, and one or two pieces that arrive at the right time to close the puzzle. When I look at the Celtics, I see an almost complete puzzle. And almost is a dangerous word. It takes you far, but it doesn't always take you all the way. Now let's look at the opposite scenario for a moment. If Boston doesn't make a trade of this size, what needs to happen for the team to remain a real contender? There needs to be consistent internal evolution. Not flashes, not a good game here and there. Consistency. Keita needs to maintain the level when the stage gets bigger. The rotation needs to find stable answers when he is not on the court. The team needs to continue defending with discipline without depending on perfect nights. And the attack needs to continue producing even when the opponent closes the box and forces difficult shots. Is it possible to continue without the exchange? But continuing without the trade requires the team to not just get by, it requires him to grow from within. And then I return to the starting point. The price of greatness is not just a package of assets, it's the risk you accept to take. It's the kind of decision you make when you know the window exists, but you don't want to pay too much to get through. I understand the temptation to pursue a name like Gafford because the fit seems clean and the need seems evident. But I also understand that you can't act on impulse nor become hostage to the headlines. If the price is fair and the exchange strengthens without hurting the structure, it makes sense. If the price is inflated and you change what works, perhaps the best answer is to trust what the team has and work on the adjustments intelligently. Now, I really want to hear from you. In your view, would Daniel Gafford be the missing piece for the Celtics to face the playoffs with more security? Or do you believe that the way forward is to focus on the cast's internal growth and ability to adapt? I'm going to read your comments carefully because this discussion is exactly the kind of thing that makes the Celtics Talk Show a community and not just a video. And if you've come this far with me, I extend a direct invitation to you. Subscribe to the channel and follow it closely, because from now on, every detail can weigh heavily. What is a rumor today could become a serious behind-the-scenes conversation tomorrow. And the season is long, but the window is short. Greatness always takes its toll. The question is, what price do you think is worth paying? And now, I'm going to be very direct with you. This is exactly where seasons become history. Because a champion team is not just made up of talent, it's made up of decisions at the right time. If this talk about Daniel Gafford is even close to reality, the question that remains is not if he is a good player, because he has already shown that. The question is, will Boston have the courage to protect what matters most when the game gets big? Are you going to reinforce the tank before it becomes an open wound in the playoffs? Or are you going to bet that you can get through the fire with what you already have? And that's what makes everything electric. The trade deadline is unforgiving. You blink, someone closes a deal, the market changes, and what seemed possible becomes, we missed the chance. The next string of games could change the front office's stance. An injury can change everything. A big win can mask a real problem. And in the end, when the playoff series tightens up and every possession is worth its weight in gold, we will remember exactly these conversations here. So do the following. If you want to understand the Celtics beyond the headline, if you want real analysis, scenario, fit, impact, and reading of what could happen, I left the Celtics analysis playlist in the pinned comment. Click there now and marathon, because that's where we connect the dots and see what many people miss. Go to the pinned comment, open Celtics analyses, choose the next video and stay with me, because this story is far from over, and the next bomb could be just a notification away.